demo video for your final draft on your illuminated letter. So for this, you're going to need your final draft paper that you've already traced onto your design with your Sharpie marker, so it's not going to bleed. I would have your rough draft as well so that you can test colors on this if you want to first. To work back and forth, you're going to need your watercolor sets, a container, and several brushes. So go grab those materials out of your packet and come back now. All right, so for these illuminated letters, remember some of this is going to be gilded with either a metallic Sharpie or metallic colored pencils, just like traditional illuminated letters will be. But the colored parts are going to be done with what's called a wet-on-wet watercolor technique. So I'm just going to quickly kind of demonstrate what that looks like so that you don't end up inadvertently making your colors bleed together and go where you don't want them to go. Okay? So wet on wet is exactly what it says. Okay, you're going to take a brush. So I'm going to do my COVID mask here, which is a light blue. And I'm going to take the brown bristle brush because that holds the most water. And I'm going to just take some clean water and I'm very carefully going to paint the inside of that and let that water soak into the paper so that it's damp. We don't want puddles. You should be able to pick the paper up and not have any of the water run. If you do have water running, or you get too much water on the paper, then just take a paper towel and just lightly pat it dry. You don't want to ever rub it with the paper towel because it will make the surface of the paper rough. All right, so you have a couple options. You can mix colors right on the paper using wet on wet, or you can make custom colors in the lid of your watercolor set. So I'm going to put just a few drops here, and I'm going to use a smaller brush now so I've got more control. And I'm just going to make that light base color. And it's hard to tell how dark this is going to be here. So that's where the rough draft comes in handy. So I can put that on there and decide if it's too dark or if it needs more color. And you always want to work light to dark. You can always add more color. It's hard to take color out once it's on there. So I'm pretty content with that. If you want to make your color lighter, all you do, since there's no white paint, you simply add more water. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to put that base blue color down, that light blue down. Any areas that are white or lighter, you have to paint around. Alright, so there's my blue base. Now some of those folds and creases are going to have shadows in them, but I don't want to put those in yet until I give that blue a chance to absorb into the paper. So while that's drying, I'm going to go work on an other area that maybe has a similar blue, like the globe up here. But I want my blue to be a little darker in my globe. So I'm going to mix that custom color there. I'm going to test it on my paper here. I think I want a little more. So that's a nice blue color for that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the globe, right? I'm going to get a clean brush with some clean water, and I'm just going to paint in the water. I don't paint the entire globe because I don't want the blue to bleed into the green and the brown. Your color will follow that clear water wherever it goes. There you go. And then I'm going to pat that dry. And then I'm going to go in with my smaller brush and add those ocean blues in there. Notice I'm not moving the brush a whole lot. I'm just kind of letting the tip travel over the area. I'm barely touching it. If I want to make it look like there's a shadow on the underneath side of it, I could go in with a little purple. Mix that in. And while that's still wet, I can blend that purple into my blue. Just to give it a 3D effect. Now I can go back over here to my mask. Make that darker shade. Again, I'm going to test it on my rough draft. And then I can go in. Now this is dry enough, I can go in and add some of those shadows in there. So it looks like the mask is folded up and a little more 3D and realistic. If you ever get it too dark on the paper, what you can do is take a clean brush, add a little water to it, dab it with the paper towel, it'll take some of that out. Right. Now, if you're going to have smaller objects, so if you look at this example here, some of these details are so small that I wasn't even going to try to mess with doing that with a paintbrush, right? If you need something needs like very straight edges, things like that, you can go in with colored pencil and do some of that detailing after you're completely done with all your watercoloring. But you have to be done with all of the watercoloring before you add any colored pencil on top of it. So for example, like my COVID here in the middle, it's going to be a light pink color. And then it's going to have some purple and red shading in it. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and paint the entire inside of it. And then once that is totally dry, I will go in with my colored pencil and shade some of those things that are coming off of that shape. So again, I've got a clean brush, and you always want to clean your brush before you get a new color. You don't want to foul it in your paint set. I'm going to test it. Oh, I need a little more color. There we go. So that's a good red there. So now I'm going to go in on that wet shape and just blend that in and paint over the entire shape. And let that dry. And then I can add finer details with a colored pencil later. All the outline in the sea here, that's going to be a gold or a silver metallic pencil. That'll be done in class when you're here, the day it's due. But we're playing with and letting the watercolor, the transparency of the watercolor, make things look kind of 3D. So that's going to stay the way it is. I can go in and paint some of my blood cells, my platelets, with some of that same red. Now these smaller coronavirus, I'm going to paint with the clean water first with a smaller brush, just because they're so small to begin with. And then go back in with that color. And in some areas, it's simply as easy as just touching the surface. And then that color will go where your water stands. All right, so work your way through your painting, get all your watercoloring done first. I figured that's two classes worth of work. You want to paint things that are separate from each other, right? You don't want to paint this background now until those are completely dry, or the background color might actually bleed into the actual virus itself. So you're going to jump around the picture while you work.